Coming up next on Channel 6 television, Grassy Roots with Dr. Jim Carey and Beth Overgaauw. A show which will guide you down paths to healthier living by simply adjusting your eating habits. Stay tuned to Channel 6 for Grassy Roots. Hello and welcome once again to another episode of Grassy Roots, the show about eating healthy to improve not only your life but your health. I'm here once again with Dr. Jim Carey. Hello.
Aloha.
And who knows what we're going to talk about. Every week is something different, and sometimes it's way outside my thinking, and I have to readjust and look at it from another perspective, and that's a good thing because it makes you think. What are we talking about today, Dr. Jim?
Let's talk about overcoming our addictions to cooked foods.
I thought you were just going to say addictions, period.
Actually, dealing with a cooked food addiction is the same as dealing with any addiction. Okay, and we're going to talk today about Victoria Boutenko's book, 12 Steps to Raw Food. And I know this looks ancient because I've used it to death in the last 5 years that I've had it. But Victoria, it's a great story. She's like, how come, not only her, but all her friends that were trying to be raw, how come we have such a challenge being raw? So she went to the library and she started going through the self-help section and the addiction section, and they'd only let her take out 20 books at a time. So every week and a half, she's then getting another 20 books. The librarian thought she had a heck of a substance abuse issue.
Oh, because it was all related to addictions. Okay.
And what Victoria found was that she identified 90-some 12-step programs, and they're all based on Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh, on that 12-step program.
On that 12-step program. And what she did is she took the AA program, the NA program, just right on down the list. They're all the same, and she adapted it for raw fooders.
Okay.
And well, the book is great, 12 Steps to Raw Food, Victoria Boutenko, and that's on the website as grassyroots.com/books.
Okay.
We'll take you to the book review and a link. But we have a summary, with Victoria's permission, of course, in my home study guide book. On page 287, we have the 12 Steps to Raw Food as a summary.
Okay.
So you want to go over them?
Yes. I'm scared what I got to admit to. Do I first say my name?
Yeah, well, you can be Beth O. Actually, the 2 pages before that is a cooked food dependency questionnaire.
Oh.
Okay, and if you're honest with yourself on this, you have questions like, if you're not hungry but someone offers you your favorite delicious food, do you accept the offer?
Yeah, most often. Most often.
If you know that it's not good to eat before bedtime, but there's some delicious food on the table, do you eat it?
I know it's not a good thing to eat before bedtime, and there's not a delicious food. Yes.
If you're feeling stressed, do you eat more food than usual?
No, that one's not me so much.
Good. Do you continue to eat until your stomach feels completely full?
Not as much as I used to.
Do you eat when you're bored?
Yes.
Okay. Do you notice restaurant signs even when you're not hungry?
Do I notice the signs even when I'm not? Oh, yes.
If somebody offers you a free dinner, do you always accept?
Pretty much. And that's...
Do you overeat at all-you-can-eat restaurants?
No.
Oh, good for you.
No.
Have you ever broken a promise to yourself not to eat before bedtime?
I don't think I've ever made that promise.
Ah.
So...
Would you? We could go down.
I didn't know that was a rule.
Would you spend the last $10 in your pocket on your favorite food?
Possible. Possible. Yeah. It depends on how hungry I was and sushi.
Do you reward yourself with food for accomplishing achievements?
Not necessarily. No.
Okay. Do you eat extra food rather than letting it go to waste?
No.
Good for you. That's a big mistake we make a lot, is feeling that we have to clean our plates. We don't.
Right.
If that's enough, that's enough. Okay. is more of a sin to overeat than it is to throw the food out.
I have heard about the starving children in China, though. It's not as if somebody hasn't
I know.
tried
We
to
all
get me
grew
to
up
finish.
with that in our age range.
Yeah.
But the fact is that overeating is abusing our bodies, and that's a lot worse than wasting the food. It's not wasted food if I'm not hungry. It's leftovers. Besides, wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
This is the next meal. If you know that eating a certain food you really enjoy will make you feel ill later, do you still eat it?
I can't think of one that really makes me feel ill now, except maybe meat, because I haven't been eating meat, and that might make me feel ill to eat it.
Well, if you answered yes to 3 or more questions, then you may have a cooked food dependency.
3 or more.
You answered yes to 4.
You're counting with your fingers. I wonder what you were doing. Yes, I did. At least 4, I think. Yeah.
So, the 12 Steps to Raw Food by Victoria Butenko. Step 1. And we'll talk over each one.
Okay.
This is from, it's in their book, 12 Steps to Raw Food. It's also listed in her book, it's on her website, rawfamily.com.
Okay.
Step 1. I admit that I have lost control of my addiction to cooked food and my eating has become unmanageable. Now, in your case, obviously obesity isn't an issue.
No.
Anybody that's obese has an eating issue right there. Okay. But anytime you can't resist the chocolate, or you can't resist the cookies, or you can't resist the fill in the blank, you've lost control of your eating.
I'm not real sure I've ever tried to resist it. That's the thing. That may be what I need to see, you know.
Well, I bring these issues up this week because we've been doing this for a couple months now, and people are, we hear back from the viewers and the website people, and people are eating more and more raw.
Right.
And they're encountering these issues. Okay?
Challenges sometimes.
The challenges is a good way to put it. And I just want people to know they're not alone. These are normal challenges. And just as any 12-step program appeals to a higher power, and that's how 12-step programs work. Because before Bill W. and actually goes back to Carl Jung, the psychiatrist, and the Oxford group in England, alcoholism was incurable, had been for centuries. But the Oxford group used love and an appeal to a higher power, and that was the cure for alcoholism, which had been incurable until the 1920s. It's the same with any addiction. Is we need to A, recognize what the issues are, and B, place ourselves in a different place. Okay. Well, it'll explain itself. Okay. Step 2. I believe that live vegan food is the most natural diet for a human being. Répétez après moi.
I believe, and I'm believing this more and more, that live vegan food is the most natural, that's a key word, diet for a human being.
Amen.
I've started looking at my teeth and there's only 2 canines. I'm just thinking it's all about them.
Yeah, when you look at the dog, you look at the cat, and then you look at a horse mouth. You say, oh, or deer. That's a good example. I like deer teeth. They look an awful lot more like human.
I think of meat now as an emergency food, really.
That's what I think it is, a survival mechanism to get you through northern latitudes, rough winters, crossing the Pyrenees.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're omnivores, is that we can exist on anything, but we only thrive on our natural diet, which is plant-based food.
Yeah.
Go ahead, read number 3.
Oh, okay. I shall gain necessary skills, learn basic raw recipes, I'm doing that, and obtain equipment, I borrowed all that, to prepare live food.
I noticed when I went down to the cabin that food prep was a challenge because everything's up here at the TV studio. But you're doing that.
Yeah.
You're gaining the necessary skills. You're
learning.
You're working right out of my recipe book. That's great. And you, by hook or by crook,
obtained the equipment.
Go ahead. What's step 4?
Okay, step 4. I shall live in harmony with people who eat cooked food. I don't have a problem with that, really, I don't think.
But I think it's important we talk about it.
Yeah.
Number 1 is not preaching, like we've said. When we go around and say, how could you eat that? Be it a chocolate bar or a rare steak, whatever. That just sows the seeds of discord. Also, it opens us up to the thing I keep saying, we don't justify our lifestyles.
Yeah.
By even bringing the issue up, we engage in that debate. The debate just makes us acidic. Becoming acidic is, well, that undoes what the living foods do, because living foods make our body alkaline, and that's how the body heals itself.
And the first time you get outside the diet and somebody you previously preached to notices that, you're going to hear it back too.
Yeah.
You know, so that
I love it when they say, you're not supposed to eat that. And I go, you haven't even read my book. How do you know what I'm supposed to eat? Besides, it's none of your business. I'm eating outside the program.
But if you preached to them earlier about it all, then, you know, they're more likely to say that very thing to you.
Yeah, next week we're going to talk about dealing with family.
Yeah.
That's going to come up a lot. What are we at? Step 5.
I shall stay away from temptations. That's just about it saying don't ever go in any restaurant in any area, anywhere.
Well, we have this balance of going out with friends, and, you know, so much socializing in America is based around food. Now, when friends call me up and invite me over for dinner, one of my favorite things is to try to talk them into going to a movie, or like Friday nights once a month in Swainsboro, Georgia, is an art stroll. And let's go for the art stroll, okay? So let's find ways to socialize that don't involve food. But when they do involve food, A, eat a good meal before you go out, and B, have the side salad.
And maybe even take something with you.
And that's totally acceptable. We're going to get into that in a couple of weeks too. You can actually print up a little card for the chef and say, would you make me just a wondrous salad with all these things that you like, and do them on these do-it-yourself business cards you can tear apart.
Oh, yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the wording for it's in the book there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, so there's different ways to approach it, but my favorite one is to eat my way, a good meal before I go, and then I can pick at a salad, or especially, and then it becomes like you learn to become a salad bar connoisseur, and you pick the restaurants that have good salad bars. Okay, so there's more to eat. What do we have next? Number
I
6.
shall create a support group.
Very important.
Yeah.
One thing I think is great is on meetup.com we found a new raw living foods group, or raw foods group rather, in Louisville. And I missed a meeting because I had to go to Georgia last week, but we both intend to get fully involved with that. And it works both ways. Actually, I'm getting ahead of this a bit. Not only does it support us by sharing recipes and being emotionally supportive of each other, but we actually help others by sharing what we know. So it works both ways. And that sharing reinforces your beliefs and your actions. So having a support group, just like going to an AA group, is important. Yeah.
There's even internet connections. If you go to any of your websites, for example, you can read, and that's sort of a support group you don't know yet, but it still supports you.
And that's actually the modern stuff of this is Facebook.com, Twitter.com, MySpace, GrassyRoots.com, CheDiet.com, blog, YouTube. I've been putting more and more videos up every week on YouTube. And you go right down, Grassy Roots, RawDoctors.com, CheDietVideos.com, and Wigmore.com, WigmoreDiet.com, RawFamily.com. There's one I'm not involved in. Out of that whole list, most of them I'm involved, as you know. But all these things create support by reading success stories from other people, by finding new recipes, just by putting your mind there for 15 minutes or an hour a day. Really helps.
And the more you look, the more you find, too. It's kind of like, I remember when I was pregnant all 3 times, it seemed like everybody was pregnant. All of a sudden, you just see a lot of pregnant people. You probably never experienced that, but it's the same thing, same kind of phenomena. Same kind of phenomena, you know, the more you look for it, the more you find it, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's there, and this movement is growing hugely. By some estimates, it's quadrupling. It's growing 4-fold in size annually for the last 3 years. I know there's a lot more public speakers out there. I meet new people everywhere I go. For any raw lifestyle or raw vegan or vegan festival or vegetarian festival, they're huge and they're record crowds. One year they have 500, the next year they have 2,500 people show up. So this is a really growing thing. So as you look around, yeah, you'll find support and you'll find others.
Okay. Want to learn more about a raw living foods lifestyle? There's a wide collection of videos on the subject at ChiDietVideos.com. You can find a video on any subject that suits your interest and your budget, including rare footage of Dr. Ann Wigmore's raw living food lifestyle programs. This knowledge could change your life. Check out ChiDietVideos.com.
One of the best things terrorists could do is just build more fast food restaurants, maybe add another pharmaceutical company, have a couple more infomercials, and encourage people to eat the way they eat now. And everybody's going to be dead in 100 years. They can just walk right in, don't have to do a thing.
Superstars, large fry, Big Mac, Coca-Cola, go on, man, pick your poison.
1/4 of what you eat keeps you alive, and 3/4 of what you eat keeps your doctor alive.
I used to get high for a living, eating all the bullshit food they sold me.
Cancer rates going up, heart disease going up, stroke going up.
We're poisoning ourselves with highly processed, nutrient-depleted foods.
One of the major problems is what we do to the soil and the air and the water and everything we take in our food.
We, for whatever reason, decided we're going to spray everything with every kind of pesticide, herbicide, larvicide, fungicide. We decided we're going to genetically modify things we don't know anything about. Can we actually improve what has already been created? And the answer is maybe, but not the way we've been doing it.
If you want to know what's wrong, look down at the table. It's staring back at you.
Think of it as chronic malnutrition, because that's what's going on.
But if we think we're going to go to the doctor and get a pill for everything, we've missed the whole point. We have been taught our whole lives to be consumers of modern medicine, which is pharmaceutical medicine. Good health makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make a lot of dollars.
Now, the drug industry has every right to make money, no question about that at all. The ethics, I think, need to be very closely watched.
What the pharmaceutical companies are doing may not necessarily be in the interest of our population.
You can be as sincere, and you can be sincerely wrong.
Approximately 106,000 Americans die from pharmaceutical drugs each year. And these are people who took the medication as directed.
There's a lot more turning to alternatives because what's being done beforehand doesn't work.
There is no magic bullet, but there is a lifestyle change that reverses serious chronic disease. It's cheap, it's simple, it's safe, it's effective.
The solutions are here. They've always been here. Every single person in the world, every culture, every language, every person in the world knows it. You are what you eat. Food does matter.
It's a choice. You don't have to be sick.
For a full-length DVD copy of Food Matters, go to GrassyRoots.com/food.
You're not going to cook anymore? How will I live?
I didn't say that I wasn't going to cook for you anymore. I said that I wasn't going to cook the vegetables anymore. And I said we're going to cut back on the red meat for a while.
Where in the world did you get this idea?
I've been reading some of the articles that are posted on rawdoctors.com, and they make a lot of sense. You've got aches and pains, I got high blood pressure, and it's time that we did something about our health. So this is what I'm going to do. Come on, do it just for a little while, sweetie.
To learn what Susan has learned and more, visit rawdoctors.com. And now, back to Grassy Roots on Channel 6 TV with Beth Overgaauw and Jim Carey. We're to 7 now. I shall find alternative activities or hobbies as opposed to eating cooked foods, I assume.
Right, and I started with, I alluded to it when I mentioned, let's do something besides go to a restaurant.
Oh.
Okay, and that's the very starter there. But people, so many people, especially women, their hobby is cooking.
That's true.
Okay, now your hobby can still be food prep, but you'll find as you get in the vegan lifestyle, you eat a lot less too because your body's satisfied. It's getting the nutrients out of the food. because the nutrients weren't there before, they were cooked out, the digestive enzyme
You had to
issue.
eat more to try to get what you need.
Right, so you find yourself eating less, and as you get pro at this, you know, you don't have 90 minutes at 350 degrees as part of the recipe. As you know from our kitchen stuff, it's 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and if you were whipping it up, it's 15 minutes because I'm saying, oh, by the way, if we just do it, food prep is quick. So again, while food prep could be a hobby, you know, that's focusing on food for a socialization issue.
True.
And if we remove that element, if we think about eating to live instead of living to eat, then food preparation becomes an incidental thing. Like talking to Bill M. In Louisville last weekend, who's been raw for 20 years. Food prep is just something he sort of does. It just happens, you know. His wife laughs about it because she's cooked fooder. Mm-hmm. But his hobbies are other things. Gardening. There's a great substitute.
Oh, yeah.
Grow my own organic food, okay? And you know, you can garden indoor year-round.
This is true.
Yeah, with trays and window boxes. Dr. Ann's flat was a little place, and she grew lots of herbs and greens and wheatgrass between racks in the kitchen and window boxes on the window ledge.
Wow. And then the other alternative activities and hobbies could also be exercise more, do something that's going to be good
really
for you
what
in
we're
other
getting
ways.
to here is, like I did last winter up here in this cold country, I got a treadmill over at the thrift shop. I had no idea how expensive treadmills were, but I found a great one for $25. I mean, it took a little work, but I fixed it up. I got it running because I'm not one to get out and walk in the cold, but I was on that treadmill at least an hour every day, at least 5 days a week. Weightlifting, going to the gym.
I've got two bikes in the garage, both with flat tires, but I've been thinking about getting those tires fixed so that it will manifest itself and they will be fixed eventually, because I will get around to it. And then going for a bike ride. The weather's just right for that, or getting there.
Getting there. You're a Kentucky girl. You think it's warm out. I'm a Florida boy. I think it's frigid out there. This is like our record lows. 55 degrees.
But, you know, any kind of exercise or
those are excellent suggestions.
shopping and not buying necessarily, because that could turn into another new
Window
addiction.
shopping,
You got to be careful not to trade in one addiction for another.
Mm-hmm. That's very important.
Yeah.
Not to trade one addiction for another. That's something to very much be aware of. Substitution, we call it.
Yeah. Is that listed as one of these, or
no? But
sort of
you brought
aside?
up a good point.
Yeah.
Is we do want to be careful that we don't substitute one addiction for another. Yeah, and that's a very good point.
Okay, step 8. I shall let my higher self lead my life. I like that one. Mm-hmm. Just got to get in touch with that higher self more often.
Yeah. Prayer, meditation. I mean, I don't preach, and especially when we're touching upon religious issues, it's all a personal outlook. But 98% of Americans are nominal Christians, so we'll just talk that way. And whatever your church, whatever your denomination. I have Buddhist friends that for a while they were very devout Buddhists, which meant that they meditated twice a day for an hour to an hour. But then you get off on that path, and it's so easy to let modern life get in the middle of it, and you skip meditation here, you cut it down to 30 minutes until, you know, Buddhist friends have said, I haven't meditated in a year.
Oh.
You know, I have Christian friends, they say, when was the last time you prayed? And they go, oh, last Easter at church. No, doing these things daily, however we label them, really works and really makes a difference. And you know, we pray to the divine order of the universe for strength, guidance, and help. And the reason I like meditation too, to me, like I tell people, is we're so busy praying we don't stop to listen to God. And that's where just quiet time of meditation is. Boy, if you're talking all the time, it's hard for them to answer.
Right, this is true. This is true. Okay, step 9. This is a long one. I shall make a searching and fearless inventory of the real reasons for seeking comfort and pleasure from cooked food. Now, I've heard that behind a lot of diets. You know, you hear people say it doesn't matter what you eat, how often you eat, if you don't know the real reason that you're going there and what.
We started on that with that little checklist I ran, or that I read off. The real purpose of that is not to really have a discussion about it.
Mm-hmm.
Is to sit there and really analyze it. In other words, those were discussion points, and you say, "Oh, I never thought of it that way," or maybe I do, or I never have. But those thought provokers get us into especially obesity. That's a rather obvious one. Why do I overeat? What am I seeking from food? And typically it's comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I overeat to celebrate, and I overeat when I'm miserable. Okay, I mean,
Same
those
thing
years
with people that drink or people that have a cigarette. They may use those same arguments.
Exactly, and so it's again different addictions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfect example. So why do I do that? If I have a serious health challenge, diabetes, heart disease, MS, and I've seen that this raw living foods lifestyle really can handle my body, or can heal my body, or well, actually the body heals itself by putting good material in. The lifestyle doesn't heal anything. The body heals itself. But why am I shooting myself down by going out and having a steak dinner when I know that my body needs this, and I know how much better I feel after these 2 months of green smoothies and lots of salads? Why am I shooting myself down? What is that about? As we analyze these things, then when the temptation comes along, we say, "Oh, I'm just doing that because." See what I mean? If we understand ourselves, we can deal with ourselves, and that's how we overcome our addiction. Why do I want a cigarette? Because it relaxes me. Oh, well, if it's just about relaxation, then let's just take a little time out, take a few deep breaths, do a little inhalation therapy, and get that same relaxation that the cigarette gave me. But I could only do that if I understood why I wanted the cigarette, or why I wanted to eat the chocolate cake. What am I getting out of that? If it's satisfaction, then maybe a new outfit. Take off 10 pounds, reward yourself with an outfit.
Right.
Reward yourself with a DVD. Education, reinforcement really works. For me, well, you know, I'm in the DVD business, the video business, and for me, watching these videos on the test monitors and stuff in the office, there's always something running. That helps keep me re-inspired. Okay, so going out and rewarding yourself with a home study program or with a DVD every month is a great way to give yourself satisfaction if that's why you were eating. So it's a substitution, and substitution's okay as long as the substitution does not become a new addiction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Step 10, I shall let my intuition help me.
This
I've never
is
heard that
interesting.
one. Of course, I've not studied the 12 steps before.
Well, this is Victoria's variation on it. We've all seen examples of good intuition, and we're all very intuitive. Our bodies know what they need. But we put all this stuff up here, this software, this programming by society, etc., that has that overcomes the intuition. So it becomes, what does my body need versus what does my body want? Intuition will show you what your body needs. The reason that Dr. Ann's home study program is so rigid to start with is we have to overcome these addictions and get feeling better
first
and get educated. After we get to that point where we don't miss meat, you know, we don't miss the rich gravies and all that stuff, at that point we can start listening to our bodies, and our bodies say, "Hey, I really miss tomatoes, they don't hurt me." Okay, fine. And maybe there's a nutrient in the tomatoes your body needs. But in the beginning, we avoid these things to clean our bodies out.
And then start back.
Right, because we have to learn to listen to the intuition versus the ego-based logic. that says this and that.
I have found that lately with the late night snack, because that was a stumbling block I had in the questionnaires. Before you go to bed, eating. Thinking I want to eat something, go in the kitchen, open the refrigerator, open every cabinet, open every drawer, look at everything that's in there, and going, no, that's not what I want. Over and over, every place I look, no, it's not. I'll just drink a little juice, and then I'm happy, I'm satisfied, it's done. You know,
so you're changing habit pattern.
Changing habit pattern, because I kind of rethink, that's not what I'm intuiting that I really need to do. My stomach's not the one talking to me, it's something else that's, might just be go to bed.
I had, when I went raw for the longest time, I always walked through the bakery. I missed the bakery, okay? I missed the cheese department. I would go by for a visit. But what was fun was that I never bought anything, because as I looked at it, my logic says, that's not going to be good for me. I don't really need that. I don't have to have that. I may want it, but I don't need it. But I'll just go through and visit and smell and gain 2 pounds.
Okay. Well, like step 11, through clarity, I will gain happiness. Through clarity, I will gain happiness. Clarity. You want to clarify what clarity is all about?
As your body detoxifies, as you go through this program and the toxins peel out, the weight falls off, but in particular the accumulated toxins fall out of the body, you'll find that you have more mental clarity. You're smarter. You see things better. Okay? It really does happen. I mean, I've hundreds of examples. I hear it all the time. We don't talk about it that much because it sounds like, what do you mean the food will make you smarter? It's not that the food makes you smarter, it's that the body heals itself and thus the brain works better, and effectively you are smarter, you are clearer. So when that happens, and it's just automatic, when your brain becomes clearer, you become happier. And I love it when people walk up to me in Walmart and say, you sure look happy today. And I say, I'm happy all the time. And why is that? And you can say, oh, it's because I'm on Raw Living Foods. Or you get into that whole conversation. Or you just say, that's because the divine spirit of the universe blesses me. God blesses me in so many ways, I'm just tickled pink at my blessings. And they walk away feeling good.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, and there's this principle in psychiatry that when you do somebody a good deed, it generates serotonin in their brain. That's the feel-good chemical. It generates serotonin in your brain too. And it also generates serotonin in the brains of everybody that observes that good deed.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I can believe that.
So it becomes a self-reinforcing thing. But the clarity comes automatically through getting the toxins out of your diet. That's why I stress organic. Even if you're not raw, even if you're still cooking your food, at least get the toxins out by going organic. That's a great start right there.
Yeah. And number 12, drum roll, I shall provide support to other raw fooders.
I'm doing number 12 right here today. That's why I do this.
That's right. You are.
Yeah, and so are you. So are you. And that's where it goes back to seeking a support group. And the support group goes both ways. By having that support group and being in that support group, especially the live people in Louisville, I found them on meetup.com. You find all these groups, and even if there isn't a group, there's a place you can sign up and say, I am interested in
and then they'll find
vegan lifestyle, vegan diet, living foods. That's how I found this. I signed up 6 months ago. Somebody started the group, and boom, it automatically mailed everybody that expressed an interest.
Right.
So, like you said, websites, books, videos, they are effectively a modern technology support group. But this live support group, and it can be as simple as doing a potluck in your house once a month.
Right.
I mean, many groups start that way, but meetup.com has really made things easier for people to find people with like interests. And this not being, let me put it this way, when people say, I can't teach, when people say I can't teach, if you know something about it, you can teach. Many times we say, oh, I can't do that, I can't stand in front of a camera, I can't teach, I can't give a lecture. It's a false modesty. Okay, it's an ego-based thing. And as a false modesty, what you're doing is hiding your light under a bushel. If you have a talent, if you have a gift,
share it.
Then sharing that is part of our mission. And I argue that it's effectively an ego-based sin to say, oh, I can't do that, when you can.
When you can.
Okay, so modesty, humility is important, but false humility is just that, false.
Right. Now, this was in, of course, the Home Study Guide, and then Victoria's book,
12 Steps to Raw
12
Food,
Steps to Raw Food, goes into a
rawfamily.com.
lot more in depth, I guess.
Right, and she discusses, there's a chapter devoted to each step. And she has lots of tips and tricks. Especially she goes into a lot of detail about how you can start your own raw support group. She goes into detail. Well, she goes into details on each step. Yeah.
You know, and it really is our hope that Grassy Roots motivates you to think about your eating habits and about your health, and motivates you to do some research on your own. There's certainly a lot of different avenues you can pursue to do the research, such as the books we've mentioned on the show and the websites.
The websites I mentioned on the show have, there's probably 4,000 articles, videos, audio recordings. I mean, there's months worth of materials just on the websites that I'm involved with.
And, you know, even if you're pretty much a skeptic or a naysayer or on the opposite side of the fence, way over there, it doesn't hurt to listen and think about it just a little bit. There might be just one little tidbit of something that really rings a bell with you.
One green smoothie a day will change your life.
That's true.
That's the place to start.
So watch for future episodes of Grassy Roots. Check our website, grassyroots.com, for back episodes if you missed any. And keep watching Grassy Roots, and we really appreciate it.
See you next week.
All right. Stay tuned for more Grassy Roots after these words from our sponsors. Looking for a comprehensive guide on the subject of the raw foods lifestyle? Susan Shang has written an encyclopedia on the subject, The Live Food Factor. This comprehensive guide to the ultimate diet for body, mind, spirit, and planet covers every possible factor related to the subject. This compilation has received rave reviews by those in the raw foods movement. Visit www.livefoodfactor.com for your copy. The Live Food Factor by Susan Shang.
When truth rings, curiosity sings. Finding yourself raw curious? Dr. Ann Wigmore's Raw Living Foods Lifestyle Home Study Program has the answers. Check out SheDiet.com and satisfy your raw curiosity.
And now, back to Grassy Roots on Channel 6 TV with Beth Overgaauw and Jim Carey. You know, I had so much fun the last time we made a salad, and it was very tasty. And I think I alluded to the fact that I wanted to try some of the recipes that come with the home study program and the Raw Living Foods. Let's find the front cover. The Raw Living Foods Recipe Cookbook, a recipe uncooked book.
Food prep book.
Food prep book that I thought I'd try salad myself. And you can watch and make comments and tell me.
I'm going to. I was looking over your set here, and I have some opinions.
I'm sure you do. And this particular recipe is by a lady named Carey Schlaufitz. How would you say that? Schlaufitz, okay. It's a cauliflower salad, which I thought was pretty cool because in my usual way of eating, I always cook cauliflower. I never thought of making a salad out of cauliflower. So I thought, well, that might be a good way to learn to eat cauliflower again uncooked and, you know, prep it this way. So I'm going to go very strictly by the book pretty much. You're already eating my salad. Okay, it said to use 1 small head of cauliflower, cut into small pieces. I didn't see any reason to cut it because it just breaks apart perfectly. And then 1/2 of a bell pepper, and it said red bell pepper slice. So this already looks like a holiday salad in a way. And so this is 1/2 of a bell pepper. Now everything else, according to this recipe, is going to be the salad dressing. So you can make a dressing occasionally out of all these other things you see. And you've got to remember to have the blades in the blender.
We went through this.
We've been through this, yes. Found out it does not work without the blade in the blender. Okay, so you put the blade in there. And it says, to mix in blender, 1/2 of a red pepper. So I helped it along by pre-dicing that. And then it says 3 tablespoons of lemon.
Foods with thin skins like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, peaches. Organic was very important because the herbicides and pesticides soak in through the skin.
Right.
But when you have something with a thick skin like a banana, an avocado, or a lemon, organic is better, but it's not nearly as important on those items.
That was 2 tablespoons so far with half a lemon. I probably could squeeze that some more. You want to do it? All right.
This little bitty guy walks into the bar and the bartender says, bet you $5 I can get more juice out of a lemon than you can. And the bartender's this big burly guy. So this is bar trick he does all the time.
Oh, okay.
So he squeezes the lemon, and the little bitty guy says, hey, I can get more out of it. And the little bitty guy takes the lemon, he gets another whole tablespoon.
Okay.
After the big burly bartender's done.
All right.
And he says, how did you ever do that? He says, I'm a tax man.
Now it said 1 tablespoon of basil, and I made the mistake of thinking that was a teaspoon when I was fixing my little pre-prepped, and it called for fresh basil, but I didn't have any, so it's dried, but it's dried organic, so that's good. And the juices will sort of wetten it up. But anyway, as I was saying, I thought I didn't realize there's a capital T for tablespoon, a lowercase t for teaspoon, and so I had to add more when I realized
We live and learn, don't we?
Yes, we do. It just shows you that I have not been much of a cook or uncook through the years. So I'm learning fresh things. Now that was the basil. It also said to add 1 capital T tablespoon of fresh oregano, and that's this one I pre-measured.
One thing I'd like to point out, Beth, is when people are on a healing diet, that they probably shouldn't use spices or herbs. Oh. Okay, or at least minimalize it. Because while herbs can be healing, when you're on a cleansing diet, sometimes they can trigger a detox way too quick, way too fast. So, I mean, what you're doing is fine, it's great. We haven't talked about that. But when people are doing this as a healing diet, you should really minimize herbs and spices because they can trigger that
a medicinal effect, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Now, the next thing it said was 2 stalks of celery, which I already pre-chopped. We're going to blend them, and that was organic celery as well.
I saw that. Everything on the counter today was organic.
Now, we are to the cloves of garlic. Now, it called for 2 cloves of garlic, but I thought that was an awful big clove.
That is a big clove. I agree.
And so I thought 1 big one would be good. And I'm going to cut that little piece off right there without cutting my thumb off. And, kind of chunk it up a bit, I guess. Won't hurt. Stay tuned for more Grassy Roots after these words from our sponsors. Want to learn more about a raw living foods lifestyle? There's a wide collection of videos on the subject at ChiDietVideos.com. You can find a video on any subject that suits your interest and your budget, including rare footage of Dr. Ann Wigmore's Raw Living Food Lifestyle programs. This knowledge could change your life. Check out ChiDietVideos.com.
One of the best things terrorists could do is just build more fast food restaurants, maybe add another pharmaceutical company, have a couple more infomercials, and encourage people to eat the way they eat now. And everybody's going to be dead in 100 years. They can just walk right in, don't have to do a thing.
Superstars, large fry, Big Mac, Coca-Cola, go on, man. Pick your poison.
1/4 of what you eat keeps you alive, and 3/4 of what you eat keeps your doctor alive.
I used to get high for a living, eating all the bullshit food they sold me.
Cancer rates going up, heart disease going up, stroke going up.
We're poisoning ourselves with highly processed, nutrient-depleted foods.
One of the major problems is what we do to the soil and the air and the water and everything we take in our food.
We, for whatever reason, decided we're going to spray everything with every kind of pesticide, herbicide, larvicide, fungicide. We decided we're going to genetically modify things we don't know anything about. Can we actually improve what has already been created? And the answer is maybe, but not the way we've been doing it.
If you want to know what's wrong, look down at the table. It's staring back at you.
Think of it as chronic malnutrition, because that's what's going on.
But if we think we're going to go to the doctor and get a pill for everything, we've missed the whole point. We have been taught our whole lives to be consumers of modern medicine, which is pharmaceutical medicine. Good health makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make a lot of dollars.
No, the drug industry has every right to make money, no question about that at all. The ethics, I think, need to be very closely watched.
What the pharmaceutical companies are doing may not necessarily be in the interest of our population.
You can be as sincere, and you can be sincerely wrong.
Approximately 106,000 Americans die from pharmaceutical drugs each year. And these are people who took the medication as directed.
There's a lot more turning to alternatives because what's being done beforehand doesn't work.
There is no magic bullet, but there is a lifestyle change that reverses serious chronic disease. It's cheap, it's simple, it's safe, it's effective.
The solutions are here. They've always been here. Every single person in the world, every culture, every language, every person in the world knows it. You are what you eat. Food does matter.
It's a choice. You don't have to be sick.
For a full-length DVD copy of Food Matters, go to grassyroots.com/food.
You're not going to cook anymore? How will I live?
I didn't say that I wasn't going to cook for you anymore. I said that I wasn't going to cook the vegetables anymore. And I said we're going to cut back on the red meat for a while.
Where in the world did you get this idea?
I've been reading some of the articles that are posted on rawdoctors.com, and they make a lot of sense. You've got aches and pains, I got high blood pressure, and it's time that we did something about our health. So this is what I'm going to do. Come on, do it just for a little while, sweetie.
To learn what Susan has learned and more, visit rawdoctors.com. And now, back to Grassy Roots on Channel 6 TV. Okay, now, I know that I've heard this one. You try to stay away from oils. But this particular recipe even says so, I think. No, it doesn't, but it's a transition recipe.
It says that the foreword in the book by Dr. Flora Van Orden talks about these issues.
Yeah.
But these are transitional recipes in my book. Yeah.
But this is organic and extra virgin olive oil.
You did the perfect thing with that one.
And it calls for 1 capital T, which is tablespoon, we've learned. So we'll dribble that in there.
Now that's a good point. Now while you're using the oil, you're not using very much of it, and I respect that. Yeah, that's just enough for flavoring.
Now, the next thing was Celtic sea salt. Now I look for Nordic, I look for Celtic, I look for Pacific. All I found was sea salt, just plain old sea salt. It's Han, wherever that is, Scandinavian maybe? I don't know, but it says sea salt.
Salt, too, is not part of the raw living foods lifestyle, but it's transitional, and if you're going to use salt, that's why all the recipes say Celtic sea salt, but at least sea salt.
Sea salt, yeah. And it doesn't really even say how much. I guess a pinch would be plenty. And, I suppose you could substitute that dulse that I've seen you use before.
Exactly, yeah.
I wonder if I'd rather do that, except it's not out.
I'll do your book recipe.
Okay, I'll do my book recipe. That should be plenty. Now, honey.
Another transitional food. It's been an ongoing debate for years and years as to whether or not it's even vegan because it's processed by bees. As a transitional food, especially as a sweetener, it's the only thing I'd recommend.
Now again, this is organic honey. I don't know how they told those bees which flowers to go to be organic.
But it is pasteurized, isn't it?
Pure and wholesome. I don't know about the pasteurized. And it calls for 1/2 teaspoon, so it's not very much. Or to taste, or it says to use stevia. And I had no idea what that was. I didn't know what department in the grocery store even looked for that in.
It's a somewhat natural sweetener, but I'd rather recommend honey than stevia. So much of the thing about living foods is the enzymes, the digestive enzymes that are in the food.
Mm-hmm.
And pasteurization, heating, cooking, it destroys those enzymes. So what I recommend if you're going to use honey is get the comb honey.
Oh.
If it comes in the comb, you know, they couldn't have heated it. Or if it says unpasteurized on the bottle, but typically you have to find the comb honey in the little plastic tub to...
You know what? I misread part of the recipe. You saw me only put 1 teaspoon of tablespoon.
Yeah, and I said that was pretty good.
Yeah, you complimented how great that was.
Yeah.
The recipe says 3.
Do your recipe.
I just haven't looked back. My eyes must have flicked from one place to another. So we could compromise and do 2. Now we learned last time we used this, that you have to get everything seated just right or it won't turn on.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Blend it up. Look at it go.
One thing you could do also, if the oil is to liquefy it, there's always filtered water.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or Rejubelac.
Or Rejubelac would be more gooder yet.
More gooder yet. Let's try it before we mess up the whole salad if we don't like it. It's pretty good. Oops, we overflowed it. I guess you shouldn't take the blade out first. Gosh, I'm learning. Unplug it. Oh, me. All right, there it is. I'm going to get a little taste of it here. Wow. Whoa. That'd be good on crackers, too.
That's the neat thing about living food recipes is a soup, is a dip, is a sauce. It's however you want to use it.
And there's no tomato in it, but it has the idea of a tomato in it. Here, you want to taste it? You afraid of my concoction?
It's got salt, it's got oil, it's got honey. I'll try a taste.
It's just 1/4 of a teaspoon. It's hard to get it off a teaspoon.
It is good. A little oily. But that's me. I'm not used to eating oil
Well, I tell you what,
anymore.
we won't put the whole amount in the salad.
Yeah, I'm just not used to eating oil anymore. That's
Yeah,
me,
that's right. You've been on
But
this
it is
diet for
tasty.
some time.
Yeah.
Well, there's my spoon. But look how colorful that is. It's really pretty.
yeah.
Now, the last
covered.
ingredient is a garnish of fresh parsley.
Oh, I was wondering.
And I've
why you
already
had-
chopped that up.
Are you sure that's the parsley, not the cilantro?
Yes, yes. Now, if you'd like a whole bowl of it, I've got a little extra bowl here. Right, and here's your fork.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh, am I your taste tester? Like working for the queen? See if it's poison? Wow.
Now, is that
It's very,
considerably
very good,
different?
Beth. It's very good, yeah. Very
All right, I'll just eat out of a big bowl. By itself, the dip was pretty strong. When you spread it out like this over the bigger chunks of cauliflower, that's really good.
Another thing I'd like to remind people is that when you're doing raw food preparations, because it's not a chemical reaction like cooking is, if you really like basil or well, we have dill over here that we didn't use, etc. Add what you want. Add to taste because you're not going to mess it up.
That's true.
Yeah. Add sparingly at first. Taste as you go. But that's the neat thing about these recipes is you can add the spices that you like and you're not going to mess anything up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the recipe book, to be honest, my recipe book is a guidebook to get you started. Because in the end, you're going to say, well, like I did. I had this wonderful sauce I made. But I'm like, I really don't need the oil in there. So the oil went first and it was still good. And then I realized I don't need the honey. And it was still good. You can do that with a cooked food recipe.
That's true.
So the recipes are guidelines, and you make it the first time like this, and then after that you flavor to taste.
Flavor to taste. Let it grow. Let it shrink. Try it all kinds of ways. Well, thank you for...
Well, thank you, Beth. You did a very nice job here.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching Grassy Roots on Channel 6 television. And be sure to tune in for another episode.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Want to learn more about a raw living foods lifestyle? There's a wide collection of videos on the subject at ChiDietVideos.com. You can find a video on any subject that suits your interest and your budget, including rare footage of Dr. Ann Wigmore's raw living food lifestyle programs. This knowledge could change your life. Check out ChiDietVideos.com.
One of the best things terrorists could do is just build more fast food restaurants, maybe add another pharmaceutical company, have a couple more infomercials, and encourage people to eat the way they eat now. And everybody's going to be dead in 100 years. They can just walk right in, don't have to do a thing.
Supersize large 5 Big Mac, Coca-Cola, go on, man. Pick your poison.
1/4 of what you eat keeps you alive, and 3/4 of what you eat keeps your doctor alive.
I used to get high for a living, eating all the bullshit food they sold me.
Cancer rates going up, heart disease going up, stroke going up.
We're poisoning ourselves with highly processed, nutrient-depleted foods.
One of the major problems is what we do to the soil and the air and the water and everything we take in, our food.
We, for whatever reason, decided we're going to spray everything with every kind of pesticide, herbicide, larvicide, fungicide. We decided we're going to genetically modify things we don't know anything about. Can we actually improve what has already been created? And the answer is maybe, but not the way we've been doing it.
If you want to know what's wrong, look down at the table. It's staring back at you.
Think of it as chronic malnutrition, because that's what's going on.
But if we think we're going to go to the doctor and get a pill for everything, we've missed the whole point. We have been taught our whole lives to be consumers of modern medicine, which is pharmaceutical medicine. Good health makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't make a lot of dollars.
No, the drug industry has every right to make money, no question about that at all. The ethics, I think, need to be very closely watched.
What the pharmaceutical companies are doing may not necessarily be in the interest of our population.
You can be as sincere, and you can be sincerely wrong.
Approximately 106,000 Americans die from pharmaceutical drugs each year. And these are people who took the medication as directed.
There's a lot more turning to alternatives because what's being done beforehand doesn't work.
There is no magic bullet, but there is a lifestyle change that reverses serious chronic disease. It's cheap, it's simple, it's safe, it's effective.
The solutions are here. They've always been here. Every single person in the world, every culture, every language, every person in the world knows it. You are what you eat. Food does matter.
It's a choice. You don't have to be sick.
For a full-length DVD copy of Food Matters, go to grassyroots.com/food.
When truth rings, curiosity sings. Finding yourself raw curious? Dr. Ann Wigmore's Raw Living Foods Lifestyle Home Study Program has the answers. check out SheDiet.com and satisfy your raw curiosity.
When it comes to obesity, it's not about how much you eat, it's what you eat. Learn more with Beth Overgaauw as she chats with Dr. Jim Carey on Grassy Roots TV, airing Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock on Channel 6 television. Getting back to the roots of healthy eating.